What's up, guys? Well, it is time to review stove number 3. Stove number 3 costs $37.13 from everbuying.com, and unfortunately it is currently out of stock. And I say unfortunately because I like this stove. It's very cool. The first obvious thing we're going to talk about is it is bigger. It's more capable, and I think it's a quality pocket stove, but it is much larger. You can see the difference between the other ones. These are the average size of like a pocket stove or micro stove. It's much, much larger, okay? It's probably the size of 5 of these, you know, combined. All right, but with that, you do get more capability and you do get a consistent product. First thing to do, like the other ones, I'm gonna weigh the whole thing. So, got my little scale out here. I'm gonna give you ounces, because as mentioned in the introduction video, if you're going to be backpacking and stuff like that, weight does matter to pretty much everyone. No one wants to carry 300 pounds on them. They just can't do it. So the stove in the case weighs 13.38 ounces. And our fuel source, because without it, it's useless. This weighs, if it would stop moving, 9.64 ounces. So, there's your weight, because some people are going to be interested in that. Alright, so let's take a look at this. Same case as stove number 1. I really like it. It's kind of impact resistant, excuse me. The worst thing that's going to happen is if it's empty and it gets stepped on or crushed or whatever, it might dent in. Like if I really squeeze this, you can see how it's kind of dented, but you can pop it back out. Really not that big of a deal. Great material, absolutely great material. On its own, it weighs almost nothing. Obviously houses it, so everything's fine. It's got the ridges in here, so it's nice, tight snap. Doesn't come off very easily. So I like the case. And it's also brightly colored, as mentioned with stove number 1 being orange, this one being a bright yellow. Easy to find in your pack in dim, situations, dim lighting. So it's really good. Anything that's important to you, especially when you're hiking or camping or anything like that, being outdoors, it should be pretty visible. If you don't want to be in the woods or whatever your terrain is and drop something that's camouflaged, or dark colored, it's going to be very difficult to find. So I like that. Moving on, here's the stove and here's the fuel source. Again, propane canister. You get these about $5 most places. What's different about this one, obviously it's much larger, and it also has a hose. So this stove does not sit on top of our fuel source like the other ones that I reviewed so far. This actually is has its own base, and a very sturdy base. These has 3 legs and they just fold out like so. Okay, so you fold them out until they're straight against the stove itself. And this forms a very, very secure base. Extremely secure. It's very wide. There's rubber bottoms on the feet. All right, and they're also grooved. So I'm telling you, once you put this down, it's not going anywhere. The other huge benefit is that it has a very large base. So you can put full-size pots and pans on this, and it'll support a lot of weight. You can easily put 20 or 30 pounds on here. All right, so if you have a huge pot of water, I don't know if this will ever actually bring that up to boil, but it can certainly hold it very stably. Stably? That's not a word. It'll be very stable. God, making up stuff again. All right, so anyway, the downside and the biggest negative, and you're going to see this when I do the demo for the water, is that I could not really do the demo for the water. Because it's a much larger stove with a wider base, you are not able to put something like a narrow bottle on this, okay? It's not resting on the legs. It has to rest on these legs to be stable. It wasn't. It was resting on this, and that's exactly what happened while I was trying to boil water. This cage is rounded on the burner, and the bottom is concave, so it just, you think like, yeah, it's a little round, it's concave, it'll fit perfectly. No, it's just not stable enough. It's in fact dangerous to put it directly on here because you don't want things falling over. So that's the negative. It is bigger. Pro is it'll hold bigger things, but it won't hold the small stuff. So for a pocket stove, you want to really make sure if you're going to carry something like this that your canteen or your water bottle, whatever container you're using to boil water in, is going to fit stably. There we go again, stably. It's going to fit nice and stable and securely onto the stove. So for most people, when you're doing light hiking and stuff and you carry a product like this, you're generally not going to have full-size pots and pans or much larger based items. So that leads me to believe that this may not be, even though it's a very good product and it works great, it may not be the best choice for a light hike or something like that, because you're probably only going to be carrying containers like this for water and or food. So something to consider. Actually, you know what? Right now, I'm going to give you a measurement of this. Hang on just a second. I have my calipers here. I want to give you a measurement on this so that you know if you were going to get this, you can at least measure whatever container you use at home in advance so that you know if it's going to fit on this or not. So I'm going to give you a measurement across from here. Actually, I could do this. There we go. Okay, right there. That is 3.32 inches. All right, so these feet extend right past the rim. So if you have a base of something that's less than 3.32 inches, like this is, it's not going to comfortably, securely fit onto this stove. Stably, anyway. Know what I'm saying? So there you go. That's a very important thing to note, because, I mean, this is what, for a light hike or something like that, or, you know, I say light hike, I'm not talking 10 miles. Some people's light hikes is 10 miles. I'm talking like 2 or 3 miles maybe. And I just want to have lunch. And for me, it's kind of a novelty. It's not necessary to go 2 miles into the woods and break out a stove to heat up my meal. But it's cool. It's fun. It's enjoyable. That's what I like doing. Not everyone has to be in a real survival situation to want to do something like this. And I'll tell you, most people out there aren't. I know there's like this kind of facade out there, and I'm kind of going on a little bit of a soapbox here, but a lot of people focus very much on real survival situations and stuff like that. And I think it's very, very important that if you were ever to put yourself in any kind of situation where you might need to be in a survival situation, that you need responsibly to have all the skills to survive. All right, so moving on. The igniter on the side, it folds down when everything's all folded up, so it's nice and compact. But when you're ready to use it, you just fold it up, and same deal, you're just going to click it. And you can see in here where it's actually sparking, the piece of metal extends all the way down to the middle where the gas is coming out. All right, so very nice, also very consistent. As you'll see in a second, it works the first time, every time. So our fuel source is going through this metal hose, and here's our connection point, which is very nice. So once you screw this on, I'll do that right now. So I'm gonna give you a demo of this. All right, so there's our adjustment knob. It's like a orange anodized aluminum knob. Obviously, as I open this valve, gas will be allowed to flow through. The more open it is, the more gas, hence the higher the flame. But you'll hear it hissing. That's the gas coming out of here. So I'm gonna open this up and ignite it. All right. So that time it took twice. It took 2 times. Usually it works in the first time. All right, so let me open this up a little more. All right, so as we have our fuel going through, obviously it lights that cage up, you know, red hot, but there is a flame above it. It's just hard to see because it's so bright right now. But obviously I turn it up, you can see a lot easier. All right, so the obvious benefit to this is bigger, larger, more flame, hotter. It works very nicely, in fact. I couldn't finish my demo because of the fact that this would not safely fit on here. It just kept falling off. But I can tell you, if this did fit on there, it would obviously boil the water faster. You have a lot more heat. It's concentrated. I like the fact that it's shooting straight up. That's important to me as it compared to stove number 2, which the jets shot the flames out the side. The direct heat is what's going to be efficient and what's going to work. Something to note here too is it's not all about survival and hiking and all that kind of crap. You could just be camping in your backyard, or you could be camping, you know, RV camping somewhere, or going to campgrounds, maybe do that with your family. This is a fantastic stove for that purpose too. You know, sometimes we focus on this stuff about, you know, survival and wilderness living, and it's really cool and it's great, but most people out there don't actually do that. You know, you don't have to be a survivalist to want something like this. You can want something like this because it's fun and it's cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can want something like this because your family does a barbecue, you know, 4th of July, and you go out to a campground, and this would be great for that, to make some, you know, to boil up some water for coffee, or, you know, to make some food or heat up your leftovers or whatever. It doesn't have to be this extreme situation. For some reason in our community, we focus so much on doomsday and survival and everything else. We forget that that stuff is very rare. That, you know, there's less than this much chance of that happening. Whereas living our life, the vast majority of reality, this could be very handy and very cool and fun to have. That's what it comes down to. I didn't get this thing so that, you know, during the apocalypse, I'll have something to cook my mac and cheese on. I got this because it's fun. And when I go camping, I have a cool little stove that I can rely on and boil some water for some coffee or hot chocolate or something, or warm up my food. That's why I got it. And it's going to work perfectly for that. So it's gone through the ringer so far, and it's worked great. I highly recommend this stove. I really wish it was in stock. Unfortunately, the best stove is sold out. Well, that's probably how it works, right? Because it's the best stove. They do have other ones, similar designs where they're larger like this, and they have the hose, you know, to your fuel source. I can't contest them if they work or not, but, you know, it's up to you if you want to take a chance on that kind of stuff. But at least it opens your mind to these types of stoves. Thing is barely balancing there. It's a round base. Oh, shit. Well, doesn't work, does it? The reason I want to do this review, or this series of reviews, is because a lot of people don't know this type of camping equipment exists. And some people might shake their head and think, well, that's stupid. Well, how can they not know that? Not everyone knows everything. And believe it or not, every single day, someone's new to hobbies. So there's a lot of people who would not have been exposed to this if I didn't make these videos. And that's the purpose of me reviewing pretty much anything. I can review a knife and someone could be watching going, yeah, I know about that knife. You know, show me something I don't know. Well, guess what? This is a big place, the internet. And there's a lot of people watching who don't know. And that's the purpose of the videos. And I really hope for those people, they've enjoyed it, they've learned something. And I really thank you guys for watching, whether you liked it or not. I always appreciate you at least trying. You never know if you're gonna like a video until it's all over with, right? You read a title and click on it and go, yeah, that sucked. Wasting my time. But sometimes you watch it and you go, ooh, glad I watched that. So I hope this was one of the, ooh, I'm glad I watched that type videos. Anyway, I'm babbling. All right, guys, till the next video. Hope you have an awesome day. That's right, awesome. Not just great. Awesome. Let's bump it up a notch, you know what I'm saying? And I will see you soon. Take care.